My name is Fiona Scullion. I'm an area manager with MindWise, and I'm responsible for a range of services across Northern Ireland, from daycare to housing to volunteer services, and involved in various projects like Health and Mind and Together for You, your new project just launched. I became involved in MindWise way back in 1996, 17 years ago. It was July. I had just finished my A-levels. I'd been studying for an A-level in psychology, and I'd really got involved in the mental health side of it. And I seen a wee advert in the Lurga Mail looking for a NACE worker with the National Schizophrenia Fellowship. So I applied for it and I got the job. So that was a 1 year ACE project through the Belfast mission. I'm working in the Lurgan service as MindWise was then, the National Schizophrenia Fellowship. Okay, my understanding of mental illness then was really what I read in books, because I had been reading a lot about it before I had actually come face to face with anybody experiencing mental health problems. Of course, when I got to know people, they weren't like you would read in books, or you couldn't see symptoms, you wouldn't know that they had mental health difficulties. I suppose I was coming with these preconceptions from what I'd read, but soon realised that people were no different than everybody else. Before that, I had worked in a residential home, and I was like a sitter there. I'd done that in my teenage years, just from 8 o'clock in the evening to 10 o'clock. I sat with older people while the night staff put them to bed, and I really enjoyed that. So I was just sitting chatting and fulfilling their evening. Service delivery back then, from 96 when I started, was very much more relaxed. There wasn't the regulations and the standards and stuff that we have to meet now. There was no such thing as RQIA or supporting people regulating services. Very much relaxed. Service users got involved in the day-to-day activities. I remember when I first started being told there's no us and them, and that's really how we worked it, and everybody decided what was happening. There was lots of informal activities going on. Of an afternoon it would have been a Scrabble or playing poker. The pool table was a big activity back in those days. We made dinner and activities, or the service users got involved, went shopping for the dinner. Stuff like that, but we didn't have the paperwork like we do now. In fact, there was very little. We didn't have the technology like there is now, so there wasn't even a computer in the service. So I can't even imagine what services would be like now if we didn't have the technology. Okay, well now service users come into a more structured service, no matter what service that is. So they're focusing on what goals it is that they want to achieve, very much recovery orientated. Although yes, back in the day you could argue it was very much recovery orientated, but not so much focusing on planning and assessment and reviews. It was more of an informal get together and peer support, where now it's more structured and people are coming in for a purpose and are being involved in activities, and the activities within the services are more structured now. Well, I suppose some of the examples of changes would be the like of the technology that there is now. I mean, emails and communication is very much an instant thing, where before it was all memos, it was all hand delivered or posted, and they were all even a typewriter, I remember using that to type back the memos, or they were handwritten as well. And what I'd mentioned before, there was the regulations and things now that we have to be working towards. We have RQIA supporting people, all the other regulatory bodies that we have to be answering to, where before we didn't have any of that. Well, I was never really involved in medication, certainly in my time within the day services. Although there used to be a lot of talk about medications, and medication used to be a big focus in people's lives, where nowadays it doesn't be talked about as much. I think people are more focused on doing other things, building up their social skills, their networks, and supporting each other and getting involved in activities within the services rather than the medication being the be-all and the end-all. Yes, it plays a part, but it's not everything. Yes, certainly I think that it's more widely spoken now, spoken about. Mental health's more spoken about. People are more likely to talk about their mental health problems and mental health difficulties, where before our service users wouldn't have they wouldn't have done anything outside or mentioned their mental health problems outside of the service. They came into that hub. They were called they called themselves members, and then outside of that, they were just part of the community, and they didn't disclose anything to maybe their neighbours or their friends. Back in those days, we didn't have signs in the doors to say that it was a mental health service. We're very proud to have that in the door to say that we're here to support people with mental health problems or difficulties. But with more and more people speaking out about it, talking about it, telling their stories, I think that the stigma is being reduced. Probably we have a long way to go yet, but we'll get there. But someday I'd like to see service users or people with experience running their own services, so that's all in the future. Well, I've gone through from the National Schizophrenia Fellowship time right through to the change, to Rethink, and now to MindWise. So I've seen it evolve from over this past 17 years. I've fantastic memories from way back then where we were called The Club, based in Union Street in Lurgan, and the people within it were the members. With great members within it and the colleagues I work with. And I mean, every day, we had so much fun, great fun. And the memories are there. It's, I have lots of memories that I couldn't pinpoint even. Loads of. But I suppose it's gone through all of those years and seeing how things have moved on. Yeah. Is great.